Welcome to Dane's Desk, and I will be your host, the one and only Dane Diesel. Today's topic is Make America Excellent Again. Sorry about that. What does it say? Americans fake outrage over the H1B visa. I didn't realize I'd be back so soon. My goal is to do weekly episodes. I thought I would start off with one, but the conversation is moving forward, so I gotta address some new information, as they would say. But all in all, again, make America excellent again. What do I mean by that? Let me tell you a little story time real quick. I still have relatives who grew up. I still have silent era relatives in my life. And I often talk to them about how life was growing up in the Jim Crow South as Afro-Americans. And the stories that I hear from them are somewhat tragic in that, life was really challenging back then. There was a lot of struggle back then. And what we modern individuals refer to as a struggling life pales in comparison to what, my silent generation relatives went through. And so that's why personally, I don't ever say that I'm struggling or that, things are being hard, because the reality of the situation is what I'm experiencing is nothing what my silent era relatives experience. And because, again, they had legitimate threats to their life. They had real threats. You feel me? Like, they had real problems. They had, no support, no government support, no legal support. No, there was no quote unquote justice. It was just, them. So, that era of individual was able to thrive and do what they do and produce, their form of excellence and be excellent, from my point of view. I think about how much access to information we have nowadays, but just how ignorant we are just as a people, bro. And how back then they didn't have the access to information. They didn't, they were banned from learning, or the education, quote unquote, that they were given. It was, watered down at the end of the day. But they still figured out a way to prosper, a lot of them, contrary to popular belief. And so I know that there is a state in our history as Americans where, we were excellent in regards to, specifically excellent in regards to our work ethic and in our desire to be knowledgeable and educated beyond getting a degree. I think about W.E.B. Du Bois. He talked a lot about. I remember he talked a lot about just like I said, the importance of the American educating them, with Afro-American educating themselves. And again, we've had tons of scholars, and through their scholastic endeavors, as Afro-Americans, we were able to, progress and just overall America, you feel me? Like we were able to, do some things and make some things happen overall. But that was because of the culture that we embodied, the mindset and those types of things. And those things have been torn away in modernity. And that's just the reality of the situation. So what can we do to make America great again? Because piggybacking on this H1B fiasco, we as Americans only have ourselves to blame for that. And again, like I said before, whether it was because of the policy we voted for as the citizens of this country, or the politicians that we voted into office that created these policies that ended up resulting in this H1B visa. So we as the citizens, in some shape, form, or fashion, contributed to this. So that's why I'm calling it fake outrage, because we are contributed to this, but also two, we aren't trying to, we personally within our own households, we're not trying to do anything to fix it. We're not trying to do anything to progress. We're trying to prioritize fun and happiness, for our household, specifically for the kids. And we feel confident, as adults, parents, that we can just outsource our kids' education to the government. And then we wonder why we're in the state that we're in today. So let's talk about it a little bit. So the first point I have here, why won't the government invest in kids learning STEM? So based on some traction from the previous video, got some comments and whatnot, and a couple of comments. One of the most common threads I saw was, why, again, which raises the question that we're going to be talking about, why won't the government invest in the kids learning STEM? And quite frankly, it's not the government's responsibility to invest in your child's education in STEM. It is your responsibility as your child's parent, as their primary educator. Like, you're responsible for that. The governments are not responsible for that. But the fact that as Americans, we truly believe that the government is responsible for investing in our kids' education, like, that's part of the problem. So again, we are contributing to our own quote unquote problem, which is why I'm calling it out as fake outrage. It's just fake. It's pure. It's just fake. So again, we are in positions as our children's primary educator. So as an uncle, for example, like I have a responsibility to educate my nieces and nephews, just like their parents have an obligation and duty and responsibility to educate them. Because again, they are our family. Like, my nieces and nephews, my future children, these are us. This is our family. So how don't we understand that it's on us to make sure that our children, our future generations, the people who are going to be responsible for carrying on our name, our legacy, like, how do we believe that it's not our duty, our responsibility, our obligation to make sure that they are equipped with real world skills to survive and thrive in a capitalistic society? Like, how do we believe that as Americans, regardless of our ethnicity, that it's the government's job to make sure that our kids are prepared for the future? But we're the parents. Like, how? So that's what I'm saying. Fake outrage. So point one, I said parents are the kids' primary educators, not the government. We already talked about that. Parents prioritizing fun and happiness over, like I said, and outsourcing the education to the government. In a sense, it's a form of it's as if we're glamorizing fun and happiness, which is ultimately producing mediocrity. We're glamorizing that. We're prioritizing that. We're saving for that. We're planning for that, but we're not planning for our kids' careers. We're not planning for our kids' well-being. We're not planning to ensure that when they do become adults, that they will be equipped with real world skills to thrive in a capitalistic society, because that's the future that, these kids are going to be graduating into in a not so distant future. I just saw an article recently. It said that starting January 1, 2025, we have a new generation. So generation beta. So what we had, Gen Z, then we had Gen Alpha. Now we go be on Gen Beta. So again, what are we as the parents, the uncles, the adults in these families, what are we doing to ensure that, these future generations of Americans are going to be prepared for the future digital and technological driven world that is going to exist? It's like, yes, we will need tech workers, but we're going to also need skilled trade labor workers as well, skilled craftsmen, in regards to, like I said, your plumbers, your carpenters, your electricians, and all that good stuff. So we're going to need both. So again, what are we doing as our children's primary educators to ensure that they are, fully equipped for this future that is coming? It's not going away. We're not going back in a sense. So we're not going analog. We're moving forward. And moving forward means tech. So we have to elevate our standard from mediocrity to excellence in regards to specifically in regards to how we are dealing with educating our own children. As American citizens, like, it is our duty as their parents to educate them, as their uncles, as their aunties. It is our duty to make sure that they know what they need to know to thrive in this capitalistic society. It is not the government's job to make sure that the kid is educated. It is your job. And just because you don't feel smart, or you don't feel educated, or you don't feel that you are the appropriate expert. It's not about that. You don't have to be. That's the beautiful part about it. You just have to be the parent. The same way you didn't know how to be a parent, but you most likely went and had some conversations with people. You read some books, you watched some YouTube videos. Just the same process. So it's like, I remember being a kid. No, it wasn't me. I remember when I was in education, I remember a kid had told their parent one time, like, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. No, he didn't say a doctor. The doctor was my mom's actual story. But so I guess I'll share, that story. So it was my mom, actually. I remember she told me when she was growing up, she wanted to be a doctor. But, my grandmother, her mother told her, like, oh, like, nah, you can't be no doctor. Like, I ain't got no money for that. And plus we ain't no doctors. That ain't for you. Like what you need to go focus on being realistic and go get you a real job because we got real bills and I need you to help me pay them. So in that very instance, my mother's vision of being a doctor came crumbling down simply because my grandmother didn't understand that she didn't need to be the expert, nor did she necessarily have to have the money herself to do it. All she had to do was just understand that there are people out there who are in my position as a parent right now whose children have become a doctor. So let me go do my homework. Let me go do my due diligence. But again, it seems like as parents, we don't believe that is our job. That is our duty. That is our responsibility, in the sense to provide our children with career clarity as well as prepare them for the future. We seem to believe based on our behavior that it's the government's job. So it's the government. It's the government. It's the government. But we have to acknowledge what that behavior has produced. And at the end of the day, mediocrity. So what did I say here? So again, we are now seeing the byproduct of this behavior that we have allowed kids to grow up, generations of kids to grow up. So again, we had Gen Z specifically. Kind of started, I would say, when millennials, being a millennial, that's probably like when it started. I'm more of on the front end of millennials, not the back end, but that's probably when it kind of started, but it definitely ramped up for Gen Z. For Gen Alpha, definitely ramped up for Gen Z. It ramped up for Gen Z, it ramped up for Gen Alpha, and it's going to definitely ramp up for Gen Beta. So we got to be, we got to get ahead of the game, ladies and gentlemen. And because again, our country, our kids' livelihood depend on it. So what are we going to do? Like, challenge to America. What are we going to do? So again, like I said, we are now seeing the byproduct of this belief that, a kid can be anything. We've told them they can be anything. We told them they can do nothing. We've told generation after generation that they can be anything, starting with millennials, that they can do anything, that they can just be happy, be free. And look at what that has led to us. What we are now seeing in our society, specifically, in the workplace, where employers, quote unquote, are firing Gen Z workers left and right because there's this mindset that we as the parents of Gen Z created in these kids that, again, they're the center of attention no matter where they're at, especially in this case now, the workplace. So you got kids literally who don't understand the culture of the workplace, the culture just being like, it's a place for work. It's not a place for happiness and fun and pleasure in that regard. It's a place to go produce, to go make things happen, to create value for others. And in return, you're compensated. Like we didn't take that into consideration when we told them that they could be anything. And the flip side of us telling them that they could be anything, we also didn't take into consideration that anything could be nothing. So again, that's why we only have ourselves to blame and why it's fake outrage, because we can make ourselves excellent again as American citizens. We can do that, but it's going to require that we make some sacrifices. And that's what we don't want to do, because we don't feel like we should have to do that in the name of this government of ours is supposed to be taking care of us. They're supposed to be supporting us. They're supposed to be giving us stuff. No, like that's not how a capitalistic economy works. And again, going back to that hidden hand, that's part of the persuasion to exploit your blind spot is you live in a capitalistic. So think about it. if we are in a capitalistic economy, why isn't our educational system designed to produce more capitalists? Think about it. It's not. It's designed to produce employees. Why? It's the hidden hand at work. So again, it's on us. You know what I'm saying? It's on us. So I say here, we forget to make space for the fact. Oh yeah, I said that. But yeah, we forget to make space for the fact that allowing our kids to be anything or telling them they could do anything, that anything could be nothing. So, like I said, let's be mindful of that. Now, the next point, common thread I've been seeing in regards to this H1B visa situation is this idea that what did I say here? Oh yeah, that America has the tech talent. And albeit, I believe it's true. Like, we do have some talented tech talent in America. You know, they're already here. But is it enough? I don't think that's what people are taking into consideration. It's like they're not, first and foremost, they're not understanding that, again, like I said in the previous video, there's the American policy at this point states that there can only be 65,000 H1B visas awarded per year. But there's well over 200,000 tech jobs. Now, of course, that 200 tech jobs is available. They're not all senior level, high level staff, high skilled tech jobs in that regards, but still gives us context and a clarity as to what's being expected in the industry. I mean, what the industry currently has, what the marketplace is looking like, I should say. So the fact that we have hundreds of thousands of tech jobs and we only are able to award 65,000 H1Bs, like the math ain't mathing right there. So it's like, to people's point, like, I agree with you. Like, I know that there are some corporations out there that are using the H1Bs as a way to minimize their labor costs, but still have, talented workers by bringing in, foreign tech talent. But the reality still remains is that, our country, of America, we are not encouraging kids to be involved in STEM in the name of them being happy, having fun and being able to do whatever they want to do. That's the reality of the situation. Like, we're doing this to ourselves. We're shooting ourselves in the foot in the name of everyone can do whatever they want so that they can feel happy and have some fun. So we have to ask ourselves, if we keep this up, like, what's going to change? If we keep this up, how do we expect for, future generations of Americans to have a more prosperous future if we aren't even willing to take the steps to, quote unquote, persuade them, because again, persuasion is life, to illuminate their potential in tech and in the trades? Like, how can we expect for those jobs to be filled by Americans when we're not even taking the steps to ensure that we are preparing the next generations of Americans to take those jobs? Because we are prioritizing making sure the kids have these fun and happy childhoods. What it do, Noob? So yeah, I'm just confused, America. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we saying here? So that's why I'm calling out this fake outrage. Like, you're not really upset. It's really just, in my opinion, it's just your bigotry is getting the best of you. Because if you really was about that life, then you wouldn't be waiting on the government to invest in our kids' education. We will be taking the steps required to be that educator ourselves. And one of the things I also noticed, a common theme was that, I work so much and I just don't have the time to educate my kids. It's like, how don't you have the time? And the reason why I say how don't you have the time, because I know that one of people's men and women's main rebuttals when it comes to them feeling like they're not getting what they want out of somebody is, well, people make time for the things that they care about. So does that only apply in male, female, or intimate relationships? That idea or that paradigm that people make time for the things that they prioritize and value and care about, that's only applicable to intimate relationships? That's not applicable to American children? You know, we now don't believe that, our kids are important enough for us to prioritize time in our day to make sure that they're getting the knowledge and education that they're getting. And maybe that's the problem, though, as I just said that. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe because parents' perception of education is that of a classroom and the teacher standing in front of students in front of a chalkboard, or nowadays a dry erase board. Or actually nowadays, and dating myself, nowadays I've seen that you guys got them, the new classrooms, they got them digital whiteboards in a sense. But nevertheless, it's maybe that's part of the reason why parents believe that they aren't, quote unquote, qualified enough to teach their kid, which is why they don't prioritize teaching their kids, which is why they are expecting the government to teach their kids, because they believe that. But again, that's still part of that hidden hand right there of exploiting your blind spot, parent, because I'm telling you, you are competent and you are equipped to do it because you have the internet, access to the internet. And there's plenty of tools and resources that we'll talk about later to help you get started. But overall, like I said, we just have to be mindful of what we're doing as for our kids. So, for example, I found a post in these digital streets. So it says it's from Newsweek. So this is Newsweek. We all pretty much know what Newsweek is. And the title is, "What careers are Gen Z talking about the most on Instagram?" So there are over, this says this is as of, did it give a time? It doesn't necessarily give us a time. But nevertheless, the rank number one, what you think that is? What you think the number one career that Gen Z is talking about pursuing on Instagram? What you think that is? Think it's something in STEM? Think it's something in science, technology, engineering, or math? No. Number one, model. 380 million posts about I want to be a model. Next, artist. 345 million posts about I want to be an artist. 3, photographer. 268 million posts about them wanting to be photographers. Then it's makeup artist, then it's blogger, then it's marketing, then it's singer, personal trainer, actor, influencer, style blogger, dancer, chef, writer, YouTuber, fashion designer, content creator, athlete, hairdresser, nail artist. And nail artist, which is the 20th one, that's 22 million posts. So if you notice, not one thing was a STEM related. Nothing was science, technology, engineering, or math related. Not one career aspiration. But again, this is what we have done as their leaders, as their parents, as their uncles, as their teachers, as their past, like whatever positions of authority you want to label, use. Like, we have done this. Like, think about that. We have encouraged a whole generation of kids, Gen Z, to not even want to do the type of jobs that the country needs to sustain itself. So how is our country going to prosper? How are we going to compete on this? Because again, we're, the kids right now, as well as the kids in the future, it's no longer an American workforce. It's no longer an American workforce. It's a global workforce. Because again, we got technology and the internet and everything's connected. So it's a global, our kid, we have to make sure our American kids are prepared to compete on a global level, not just on a community level or even on an American level. Like, they have to be able to compete globally. And the only way that's going to happen is if we, as their adults, we as their teachers, their uncles, their aunts, their parents, etc., specifically their parents, it's their job, it's your job to make sure that you're guiding them through life. Again, career clarity, because you're the adult. You have been through childhood, and you've most likely had your own aha moments. Like, man, I wish my parents would have prepared me a little sooner for this thing called the real world. I wish they would have equipped me with real world skills that I would need in order to get ahead in life. Now I have to pretty much start over from scratch at 18 to eventually build myself up. So now by the time I'm 30, 40, I'm just now getting started when other ethnic groups, they kids is getting started at 5, 6. So that by the time they 18, 21, they hitting the ground running. But they at that 18, 19 too, they also got the resources. They got the knowledge, they got the skills, and they even have capital at times to go out and create value, to go start businesses, to go buy real estate at 18, 19, 20, 21. But that's because of planning. Like their parents planned for that. Their parents didn't subscribe to that. They could do anything and be anything they want to do. No, they're going to be a doctor, or they're going to be a software engineer, or they're going to be, a petroleum engineer or an aeronautical engineer, whatever it is, And this is, like I said, Gen Z ain't even checking for that at all. So again, how can we be complaining about this small fraction at that, of H1B visas and this outrage that we have when we're not even preparing our kids for these jobs? And granted, we do have talented tech workers. We do have talented American tech workers. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm well aware of that. And I am well aware that some of them, are ousted from their position because the company can get cheaper labor from a foreign entity. Like, I'm aware of that. But overall, like I said, that's minor right there. Because again, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs, not just the 65,000 that y'all have this fake outrage over. So, got to get it together, ladies and gentlemen. We got to get it together. So again, the work ethic now compared to then. Think about it. Going back to, like I said, my silent generation relatives. Like, I don't think today we understand, because again, a lot of us don't have silent generation relatives that we can talk to learn these things. But I don't think we understand what life was really like back then. We think it's hard having my smartphone, my iPhone woke me up this morning at 7 o'clock so I can, use my ultra expensive face skincare routine, or brush my teeth, take care of myself, whatever process we go through, do my hair. I use all these expensive products. Then I had to struggle to get into my luxury vehicle. Then the line was just so long. It was a struggle for me to get my overpriced latte. And it's like you said, we just in this idea of struggle. But when you talk to your silent generation relatives, you will learn that they had to wake up 3, 4, 5 in the morning, cold, to go milk the cows so that they can have so they can have breakfast. They had to go literally pick their foods. So it was like, that's real struggle right there. You feel me? Like, because again, could you imagine? Because what we don't understand is back then, they didn't have the industry at the level that we have it nowadays. So most, if not, especially if you're Afro-American, like most, if not all of what you did was literally in your house. So you had to get it out the mud, as they would say. But again, that's another reason why back then, our great grandparents, they had all them kids, because again, that was your tribe. Like, that's what you had to rely. That was your workforce. That was everything. That was everything you needed to survive, to sustain your life, to sustain your livelihood. You feel me? So we got to get it together, and we got to get rid of this fake outrage and start taking our jobs and duties as parents, as leaders, a lot more seriously, and get over these mental hurdles that we create of challenge and struggle. It's just like, we're not. Just because you can't buy the things you want to buy when you want to buy them does not mean you're struggling or that you're broke or that. Like, no, you just probably got poor money management. Most likely you have just poor money management skills, and you're not willing to do what it takes to save up the money, or you're just not willing to do what it takes to skill up so that you can get a better paying position, or start your own business, or get into a trade, do whatever you're going to do to get your money. You're just not willing to take those steps. So it's like you're expecting the handout, this welfare mindset in a sense. brought to you by the Hidden Hand at that. So we got to get it together. Because again, we got generations of kids, Americans, that's dependent on us today, making sure that by the time they become adults, that there's going to be an America left for them to experience. So let's get it together, man. Like I said, we got to do a better job of leading these next generations of kids down a more prosperous and productive path in regards to their career ambitions and aspirations. Because again, got to be mindful that anything could be nothing. And in many instances, anything is typically nothing, or it's just some mediocre, I did what I had to. I did the bare minimum to pass high school, to pass college. I got a degree and I did the bare minimum to get a job. So I did what y'all asked me to do. Now leave me alone and let me live my life in peace. Got to step it up. So last point, skill up. Wealth begins at home. So skill up, ladies and gentlemen. So this is December 31, 2024. And the last day of this year, we will, quote unquote, be stepping into a new year, which means new opportunities. And let's take the bull by the horns and start being the leaders in our households and our communities that we need to be, so that we can ensure that the next generations of kids are going to have an America that they're going to be able to prosper in. So what does that look like? We have to equip them with real world skills for a capitalistic digital economy, so that we can no longer, believe they can do anything. Yes, they could do anything. But again, anything could be nothing. So how about we focus on making sure that we as within our own households, we're prioritizing STEM education. How about we do that? And so how can we do that? Well, again, science, technology, engineering, and math. So I challenge you, America. I challenge you. And my challenge to you, America, is, since we are going to be starting a new generation, Gen Beta, I challenge you to invest in your child's STEM education from birth. So what I mean by invest from birth, I'm talking about from the time they're born until the time they become a legal adult in America, which is 18. Like, you as the parent, you're going to take the steps to make sure that they're involved. You're going to do it. Like, you're going to be that teacher in a sense. Like, forget what they got to do at the school you registered them at. Like that, we not talking about formal education. We're talking about the informal education that is occurring in your household. So again, we just got to start being more conscious of what we're doing in our household. So, for example, we have to realize, as I said before, that these next generations of American kids are going to be operating, or they're going to be competing on a global workforce, not just a community or an American. It's going to be global. So they're going to have to be prepared for that, because America is not the only place where their skills can be utilized. Next, we can't take for granted being the kids' primary educators. Like I said before, we can't take that for granted. We have to start being a lot more serious about that. And by being serious, being a lot more matter of fact about how we're educating our kids. So again, I'm not talking about formal education. So whatever they're doing at the school or the college, I'm not talking about that. Like, we go leave that. We have no control over that. So we're not going to even focus on that. We're not going to even address that. I mean, we have some control through, again, who we vote for and put in these positions, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that within the home. How do we make an impact on our kids within our own households, within our own, like, that's what I'm talking about, all right? So how do we do that? Again, we got to actively plan for them to be productive. So again, my challenge to America is that we actively do what needs to be done to make sure we are preparing and equipping our kids with the hard and soft skills as well as the knowledge and resources that they're going to need to survive and thrive in a capitalistic society driven by technology. All right. So again, how do we do that? So ultimately, the ultimate vision here, going back to vision, the ultimate vision I'm challenging, Americans to is raising kids that have the skills and the resources and the knowledge to survive and thrive in a capitalistic society, making sure that they have real world skills for the world that they live in, not the world that we grew up in, that we wish existed, that no longer exists anymore. I'm talking about the future, not the past. All right. So that's my challenge, America. Raise your kids so that they can have the real world skills that they're going to need in order for them to survive and thrive in a capitalistic economy and society driven by technology and digital systems. All right. So that's going to require that we give them the experiences that they need in their childhood for them to, by the time they become 18, they're ready to hit the ground running. So how do we do that? Again, so specifically for tech now, that's what we're talking about. So there's tons of free resources out there. So the same way you give your kid the tablet to watch Coco Melon or to watch Baby Shark and all the other stuff that y'all give them, you feel me? Like all that stuff. How about we just be more conscious of what screen time represents? How about we turn screen time into just an activity that we give the kids so that they don't bother us as their parent? How about we get more actively involved with our kid during that screen time? So how about we learn together? Are we saying as Americans that we don't have 30 minutes a day at a bare minimum to invest in our children's education? Like we give 30 minutes to social media, aimlessly scrolling, but we can't sacrifice aimlessly scrolling for 30 minutes out of our day to make sure that we go over something with our kid. We go over some tech lesson. We go over some leadership lesson. Some community, like we can't do, we don't have the time to give our kid the life skills that they're going to need to have a successful future. Like we're unwilling to do that. Is that what we're saying in America? We expect the government to do it for us. The government that ain't going to do it, but that's what we're expecting. That's who we're expecting to do it. Is that what we're saying? I hope not. So again, it's on us. So here's some resources. There's obviously YouTube U. There's Udemy. There's a Free Code Camp, and there's Khan Academy. Now, as far as like I said, the vision. So it's like you don't want to just aimlessly give the kid just go on YouTube and start studying tech. Like, no, give them a direction. So again, start with the vision. So you as the parent, you have to start doing some homework. You got to start caring about your kid's future outside of them having fun memories that they can quote unquote fall back on, when times are tough in adulthood. It's on you to make sure that they know what to do. So what are going to be jobs of the future? I'm pretty sure you can. Let's find out. So let's Google that real quick. What are going to be the jobs of the future? AI Overview says, I'm using Google, data scientists, cybersecurity specialists, AI and machine learning specialists, renewable energy experts, environmental engineers, healthcare worker, robotics engineers. Other jobs that are expected to be in demand in the future include software developer, blockchain developer, ethical hacker, AI prompt engineer, digital currency advisor, flight instructor, dental hygienist, market research analyst, personal financial advisor, forensic scientist. So now that we have a sense of direction as to what some of the jobs of the future are going to look like, then we just have a vision. Now we set a vision. So for example, you might say, all right, cybersecurity. So I'm going to raise my child to be a senior level cybersecurity professional. So that's the vision you set. I'm going to raise my child to be a senior level cyber. Like, as the parent, this is what you're doing as a parent. And this can be before the kids are even born. But again, you got to set that vision first. So that's the first step, vision. Set the vision. And it has to be a vision to where you can, when you say it, you can see it in your mind. So again, I'm going to raise my child to be a senior level cybersecurity professional that works at Fortune 500 companies, for example. Like that could be the vision. So as a parent, that's the target that you set for your child, whether they're born or not. So then the next step is going to be, okay, well, what's next? All right, well, I'm not a cybersecurity expert as a parent. I don't know anybody around me that's a cybersecurity expert. None of my friends or colleagues are cybersecurity specialists, or none of them are cybersecurity professionals. So what do I do? So it's like, all right, well, you do know that the kid is going to have to learn some things. So then you just go find programs that teach cybersecurity, and they're available on sites like Khan Academy, freecodecamp.com, khanacademy.com, Udemy, and YouTube. So, but then when you go to YouTube, for example, so let's go to YouTube, doing this live, freestyle, baby. So YouTube, so cyber security course. And as we see, the 5 stages of learning cybersecurity. So bam, literally, there it is right there. So as a parent, all you got to do in this case is just like cybersecurity course. There's going to be a video, the 5 stages of learning cybersecurity. So by Mad Hat. And then you just watch that video to learn, okay, well, these are the 5 stages that my kid's going to have to go to. So, all right, because again, the ultimate goal here is let's start using America. Let's start using birth to 18 to prepare the kid for adulthood, as opposed to waiting till they're a legal adult at 18. Because we spent birth to 18 just making sure that they had fun and were happy and had good memories. Let's invest 0 to 18 into making sure that, you know what I'm saying, that they're going to have what needs to be the skill to do what they're going to need to do. So again, we do that. We see that we can learn what all the stages of learning cybersecurity are. So then we just go, you as a parent, you go do your research, you watch a couple videos, you start to develop a plan. And then so if you see that, okay, well, they got to learn Linux, they're going to have to learn computer hardware, they're going to have to learn operating systems. So, at a bare minimum, they're going to have to learn those 3 things. So Linux is an operating system, but it's more of a command line based operating system, whereas something like the Mac OS or Windows is more of a what is it? It's called GUI. Can't think of what the acronym stands for, but that's just basically the operating system that allows. That's the most traditional one. But again, you would know that the kid needs to understand operating system, understand Linux, and understand, like I said, something as basic as a web application, architecture or something like that. But whatever it is, you identify that, and then that's what you talk about with your kids. So when you're giving them that tablet because you need to have a phone call or you want to hang out with your friends or whatever it is that you want to do, instead of just giving them a tablet and then just allowing them to do whatever they want to do, you put the videos on. You put the cybersecurity videos on. You put whatever on. You put it on so that they can do it. And then you're conscious that they're doing it. So now you know that they got it. And again, birth to 18. So by the time that they're 18, they spent their whole upbringing studying cybersecurity. Don't you think that they'll be prepared for it at 18? When it's time to get into the real world and into the real economy? The workforce, as they would say. Do you think that they would be able to compete on the global level as opposed to being that same 18 and trying to figure out and they can literally as a parent like, oh, well, because think about it, it's like we're sending kids to college with no direction, with no vision other than just, again, go to school, get good grades so you can get a degree. And once you get that degree, then you can hopefully get a good job. Like that's the vision that we typically send kids into the real world with. And then they accomplish that vision because it's very simple and it ain't that big. So they accomplish it. And then they kind of like, I'm going to use the word burnout, but then they kind of, it's not burnout. Then they kind of get stagnant in life. They kind of plateau because, again, there's no new vision other than just, just working because that was the vision. Or the American dream. paradigms. That was the vision. Go to school, get good grades. You can go to college and get a degree so that you can get a good job. And then you're going to work for 40 years, for 40 hours a week. Then you're going to retire. You're going to collect Social Security. Then you're going to die. Like that's the basic vision that we give the kid. And they accomplished that. But again, a lot of them accomplished that, let's just say, within their 20s. So again, from 20s to death, it's like a life of stagnation because, again, they never update the vision. They never change it. You know, they never transform it. So again, like, then when America needs certain specific jobs or trades, you know, I've been hearing for years that we have a shortage of skilled trade workers. Now we're seeing that we have a shortage of skilled tech workers. So it's more and more, but again, America is saying we have these shortages, but as American citizens, you know, we're not taking that into consideration because we're still trying to, quote unquote, do anything we want to do. But then we're complaining about our infrastructure. You know, we're complaining about, you know, foreigners getting jobs over Americans. You know, we're complaining about the what's happening. But again, how does the country continue to prosper and move forward and compete globally if the country isn't preparing its citizens to fill the positions that are going to be needed in order for the country to sustain itself? So in all in all, we have created an unsustainable culture. American culture is now unsustainable. It is. As it is, the version of it. So we're going to have to reinvent a whole new American culture if we really plan on surviving and thriving into the future. Like I said, if we truly care about Gen Beta, that's going to start tomorrow, then we're going to start today. Not wait a whole nother generation and complain along the way about why America's not coming first. Oh, we should be giving. Like, no, you got to go out here and take. Because again, everybody else is taking, but we just waiting, sitting on our butt, waiting for somebody to give us some stuff. So that's why I'm calling it as fake outrage, and it will be fake outrage. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and close it on out. So to recap, you know, why won't the government invest in kids learning STEM? Because it's your job to invest as their parent, you know, as their older aunt, uncle, cousin, whoever you are. We are responsible for investing in our kids' education, not the government. Next, America does have talented tech workers, just not enough. So yes, we do have talented tech workers. You know, we do have talented trade workers, but it's still not enough. So if we are going to move the country forward, you know, how do we do it if we don't import the talent? I'm all ears. I'm open. So talk to me. Let me know. How do we as Americans change, you know, this, you know, our future if we aren't willing to do what it takes today to prepare ourselves for that future or prepare American citizens for that future? Talk to me. And then last but not least, skill up. Wealth begins at home. So my challenge to you Americans is as follows. Let's develop a generation of children who are equipped with the real world skills that they are going to need in order to survive and thrive in a global capitalistic economy driven by technology and digital systems. Okay? That's my challenge to you. And how are we going to accomplish that challenge? We're going to start from birth or wherever you're at right now. If your kid isn't born, if they are born, or even if they ain't, like you as the parent, you're going to take the bull by the horns and start leading and giving clarity and establishing, you know, paths in tech. So again, so cybersecurity was the example that we used. But again, now you're going to be a cybersecurity professional son or daughter. Well, I said you're going to be a senior level cybersecurity professional son or daughter that works at a Fortune 500 company. And here's how we're going to make that happen. We're going to spend birth or wherever you start from now until they become a legal adult, learning the basic knowledge and skills needed to do that, you know, to be that type of professional. And then you're going to get them actively involved in entrepreneurial experiences around that endeavor. So that, again, by the time they do become a legal adult, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, and they actually have practical experience within that field so they can do whatever that they need to be do, so that they can do what needs to be done. Because, again, we got a whole new generation now, ladies and gentlemen, so it's going to be on us to make sure that 25 years from now, Gen Beta ain't sitting up here with some fake outrage about some new workforce policy that our generation created to import foreign workers. You know what I'm saying? We gonna take the job. We go do the job. I mean, we go do what needs to be done right now to make sure that doesn't become a reality. All right. So again, Americans must change the perspective of screen time. Make it productive time. Yes. So don't just give your kid the tablet or the smartphone like aimlessly and just let them do whatever they want to do. Because a lot of parents don't seem to understand that you think when you give your child this phone or this tablet or this laptop or this computer, that you're giving them access to the world. But what you're really doing is you're giving the world access to your child. And I don't think a lot of parents are really conscious of that thought and why that's important. Because again, you unconsciously giving your child this phone, this device, and they're into that, you know what I mean? So they're locked in, but you don't understand that whatever, because you don't know what they consuming. You don't know what type of content they consuming. Most parents really don't know. You don't realize that some guy or some woman over in some foreign country got your kid by the short hairs and is persuading and manipulating and exploiting one of their blind spots, and it's going to ultimately create them into some being that just foreign to you. So now you got this, they're your child, but they're not, you don't even know who this person is, because again, they done spent the last 18 years in their smartphone being guided from some people overseas or some foreigners. And now you don't know what to do because they not listening to you. They don't respect you. They don't, because again, they look at you as you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. So get out of my face. So let's be conscious of this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be more conscious of what we're doing and how we're doing it for these kids. Because again, our future depends on it. On that note, it's Dane Diesel. Thanks for tuning in to Dane's Desk. Stay tuned to the next episode. Peace.